Welcome to the Deep Dive. It's Saturday, July 26th, 2025. Our mission today, well, it's pretty simple. We want to sift through today's big global headlines, pull out the really crucial insights, and, give you those aha moments that help you feel genuinely well-informed. We've got a pretty packed agenda today. Everything from really high-stakes political votes, major new defense pacts, to unfolding humanitarian crises, and even that intense global race for leadership in artificial intelligence. We're not just trying to tell you what's happening. We want to dig into why it matters and maybe show some of the hidden connections between these events.
Exactly. And we'll really try to explore each one. Look beyond just the immediate news flash, understand the broader context, the ripple effects, both what it means right now and maybe for the future too.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So let's jump right in. First up, a really significant internal event happening in Asia, Taiwan's record recall vote. This is apparently the largest legislative recall they've ever had. Voters are deciding whether to remove 24 opposition KMT lawmakers. KMT is the Kuomintang party, of course. Feels like a moment of real political tension there.
It really does. And what's striking isn't just the sheer scale of it, but why this tool, the recall, is being used so widely right now. You've got two sides. Supporters, they see it as a way to push back against what they perceive as growing Chinese influence in Taiwan's legislature.
Right, asserting democratic autonomy.
Exactly. But then the opponents argue that this kind of move, it actually risks undermining the democratic process itself,
Right.
Politicizing legislation too much.
Right.
And the results are expected later tonight, so the atmosphere is definitely charged. And connecting it outwards, this internal dynamic is playing out right in the middle of that very complex Indo-Pacific geopolitical scene. Any shift in Taiwan, well, it has wider waves.
Speaking of those wider waves and strategic shifts, a pretty huge alliance was just formalized. Just yesterday, Australia and the UK signed a historic 50-year IUKIAS treaty. That's Australia, UK, US. And this pact seems laser-focused on deeper defense cooperation, particularly around advanced submarine collaboration.
Yeah, this isn't just, another standard defense agreement. It feels much bigger. A really profound strategic alignment, especially, like you said, with tensions rising across the Indo-Pacific. The insight here, I think, is the duration. 50 years, that signals an incredibly long-term commitment. It goes beyond just buying hardware. It's about pooling high-tech capabilities, intelligence, especially around those nuclear-powered submarines.
Which gives Australia a different kind of strategic weight.
Absolutely. A crucial deterrent in a region where naval power is, well, paramount. It really reshapes the regional power dynamics, shows a concerted effort to boost collective security.
Okay, so from strategic alignments to, unfortunately, a situation demanding urgent human attention. Let's look at the escalating border war between Thailand and Cambodia. It's now entered its third day, and the human cost is already grim. Over 30 reported killed, or more than 130,000 people displaced. We're also hearing about new clashes in provinces like Trat and Pursat.
It's a terrible situation, and it really highlights how fragile peace can be in Southeast Asia. These border disputes, they have deep roots and flare up periodically. The humanitarian crisis is immediate, it's dire. And that's why there's such an urgent push for a ceasefire. Regional diplomacy is definitely kicking in. ASEAN, led by Malaysia this time, is pushing hard for an immediate halt.
The sheer number of displaced people.
It's huge, and it makes this a critical situation demanding focused international attention, not just for the people affected, but for the stability of a really key global region, too.
All right, let's shift gears now. From regional conflicts to the cutting edge of technology, China is making a very public bid to lead global cooperation on artificial intelligence. Premier Li Qiang recently proposed creating a new international organization specifically to coordinate AI governance.
Yeah, that's significant. China isn't just looking to participate in the conversation, it's positioning itself strategically, trying to be a key architect, perhaps even a counterweight to, say, U.S. leadership in this rapidly evolving AI space.
So what's the core idea behind their approach?
Well, the insight might be in how different nations view AI governance. China's proposal talks a lot about shared development, this idea of a community with a shared future for mankind. That might contrast with some Western approaches that perhaps focus more heavily on ethical guardrails and democratic values first.
It's a race to set the rules.
It really is. And whoever leads in defining global AI rules could shape technological power and influence for, well, decades to come.
Okay, let's turn our gaze now to global finance. South Africa. They're seeking about $500 million in foreign currency funding. This comes just after they managed to end a pretty lengthy budget impasse at home.
Right. And this move tells us something about their financial strategy, especially for a developing economy. South Africa is looking to explore ESG-linked financing, that's environmental, social, and governance criteria.
The sustainability angle.
Exactly. It's a way to attract capital, but also potentially to reduce reliance on maybe more traditional routes like Eurobonds. The interesting thing about ESG funding is it often taps into a specific pool of international investment. Sometimes it comes with more favorable terms from funds dedicated to sustainable development.
So it's a strategic diversification.
Precisely. It shows how developing economies are navigating debt and investment in a world where sustainability is increasingly a major factor in finance.
Now, unfortunately, some grim news from the Middle East. Ceasefire talks regarding Gaza have reportedly collapsed. Both Israeli PM Netanyahu and U.S. President Trump have backed out, citing stalled negotiations.
Yes, and the immediate stark consequence of this breakdown is that Israel is now reportedly looking at alternative strategies to recover hostages still held and to regain control in Gaza.
It just highlights the difficulty.
It absolutely does. It underscores the deep, deep complexities and the sheer difficulty of finding any kind of lasting resolution there. The core challenge seems to remain bridging those fundamental disagreements between the parties involved. The path forward looks incredibly uncertain. And just to be clear, we're relaying the reported collapse and the stated reasons from the parties without endorsing any specific viewpoint.
Understood. And the conflict also grinds on in Eastern Europe. There was another missile and drone strike overnight, this time hitting Dnipro in Ukraine. Reports say this Russian assault killed 3 people in the Dnipro region and damaged critical infrastructure.
And the Ukrainian response was, well, predictable and swift, leaders vowing reprisal. It points to that continued cycle of escalation. This attack is just another stark reminder of the ongoing brutal impact this war has on civilian areas inside Ukraine. It shows Russia's sustained effort to hit critical infrastructure, trying to disrupt daily life, the war effort, and it keeps taking a heavy toll on civilians.
Turning now to Iran, there was a deeply disturbing armed attack on a courthouse. This happened in the southeastern Sistan-Baluchistan province. A Sunni militant group called Jaish al-Al carried it out. At least 5 people were killed, tragically including a woman and a child, and 13 injured before security forces neutralized 3 attackers.
This incident really points to some persistent localized security challenges inside Iran, specifically in that Sistan-Baluchistan region. It borders Pakistan and Afghanistan, and it has a history of unrest, ethnic tensions, cross-border issues.
And this group, Jaish al-Al,
they're known for separatist and extremist aims, often Sunni militants targeting the Shia state apparatus. The key thing here, perhaps, is that while global focus is often on Iran's nuclear program or regional influence, these internal conflicts, driven by ethnic and religious grievances, have a really significant and tragic impact on people living there, and they contribute to a kind of underreported regional instability.
Okay, let's shift gears again, this time to the economy in Europe. The European Central Bank, the ECB, has put out an assessment saying Eurozone inflation risks are now balanced, despite all the uncertainty. ECB board member Piero Cipollone made the statement, and significantly, the bank decided to leave interest rates unchanged.
Right, and that's a really crucial signal for the Eurozone economy. When the ECB says balanced inflation risks, what they mean is they see factors that could push inflation both up and down, sort of canceling each other out, more or less.
So push and pull factors.
Exactly. Like maybe energy prices or wage growth could push it up, but perhaps moderating demand or better supply chains could pull it down. So for consumers, for businesses, holding rates steady suggests the ECB thinks its current stance is probably enough for now, enough to guide inflation back to target without needing to tighten or ease right away, provides a bit of stability on borrowing costs.
Okay, and finally today, let's touch on a significant diplomatic statement out of Italy. Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni cautioned that recognizing a Palestinian state before it's formally established could actually be, in her words, counterproductive.
That statement really gets to the heart of the complexities around international recognition, especially in ongoing conflicts. It highlights these very different views on the best path towards potentially a two-state solution.
So it's about the timing, the sequencing.
Precisely. What's insightful is Meloni's position reflects a viewpoint held by some countries. The idea that recognizing too early might reward one side without getting the necessary conditions in place for a viable, lasting state.
Whereas others argue recognition builds momentum.
Exactly. So her statement is a very nuanced intervention in an incredibly sensitive and long-running issue. The order of diplomatic steps is seen as critical by different players. Again, we're just noting the different diplomatic perspectives here.
Wow. Okay. That was quite a tour of global developments.
Hmm.
We've really covered a lot of ground today. From those intense political shifts in Taiwan, the big new defense pacts, that heartbreaking humanitarian crisis between Thailand and Cambodia, plus, the AI leadership race, economic moves in South Africa and Europe, and these ongoing, deeply challenging conflicts in Gaza, Ukraine, and Iran.
Mm.
What really stands out to me listening back is just how interconnected everything feels, often in ways you don't see at first glance.
Absolutely. And when you start to connect those dots, you see these aren't just isolated events. They're all feeding into this rapidly shifting global landscape. Understanding these nuances, it isn't just about, knowing the news. It's about trying to grasp the deeper forces shaping our world, the emerging fault lines, the new alliances, those quieter shifts that, well, they'll likely impact all of us down the line. The value of staying informed and really looking beyond just the headlines, I think it's immense.
It really is. Makes you think. So maybe just a final thought for you to consider as you go about your day. Given all the diverse challenges and shifts we've talked about today, what single global development do you think might have the most unexpected ripple effect in the coming months? Something to mull over. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We really encourage you to keep exploring the world's complexities.